Welcome to another episode of Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Miller. I'm a stroke survivor and grateful recovering alcoholic. And today's episode is a reflection on a crucial aspect of recovery, and that is humility. Today, I wanted to explore the significance of humility, the shift from doing things my way to embracing a more open and accepting mindset. When I got sober, I found myself navigating a path of recovery that often tested my understanding of humility. Honestly, in the beginning, I didn't even know what humility was. I literally had to look it up. And as I continued to try to understand it, at times it felt like defeat, like a concession to vulnerability. But I've come to realize humility is not about surrendering. It's about acceptance and openness and willingness. It's almost like, for me, not feeling like I have to have all the answers, and I do. That's kind of what I felt like before I started understanding what humility is. And I allowed myself to challenge that perception of humility with lots of nudges, of course, from sober folks and my boss, who happened to call me today. Yay. And that was nice. But it's not, so humility is not defeat. It's actually strength. And it's a key to unlocking grace in recovery, in living happy, joyous, and free. It's been a struggle against my compulsions and instincts to battle and redefine my identity in sobriety to Rachel 2.0 and post-stroke to Rachel 3.0. I built my life on the foundation of really doing things my way. And I think that when I had kids, that really started to solidify, Sometimes I think back and think of my marriage and how the poor guy, I really did think that things needed to be done my way. I mean, I was the mom, I'd do it my way. But, in retrospect, sometimes I begin to see some of my failings or my misconceptions as a younger Rachel 1.0, if you will. But in the quest for self-reliance and independence, which is what I felt like I was the only thing I was striving for back then, I was really unknowingly building walls around myself. And by learning to practice humility once I got sober, and progress, not perfection, humility breaks down the walls and allows me to accept help from others. And I've talked about this before, that feeling of, as I was in my 20s, trying to be more self-reliant and independent and acting like, look, mom and dad, I did it myself, to now knowing that it's okay not to do it myself. It's okay for me to lean on other people. It's wild to me how you have to grow in independence, but yet still keep a sense of openness to help. I mean, no wonder it's so hard to figure out. But by practicing humility, it really fosters a sense of fellowship in recovery because that's where I'm starting. And I'm building that interconnectedness as a human being with my fellowship in recovery. And I'm trying to do that now with my stroke survivor support groups, which is successful so far. So I'm really enjoying starting to bring that same idea of fellowship and interconnectedness as a human being into my stroke recovery as well. So I always wanted to prove myself to my family, to prove myself, to my family, and to all the people around me that seem to effortlessly have their shit together. That I wanted to show that I could do it all on my own. And I got a good job. I got promoted. I bought a house. I got married. I had kids. My kids did well in school. Um, it all looked good as far as I was concerned. But deep down, I needed help. You know, it looked good on the outside, but I needed a lot of freaking help on the inside. And I was lost in the noise of my short sighted desires and what I thought was displaying a happy life to those around me. It was a mask. That's what I was talking about just days ago. And the illusion of control, the misconception that I could orchestrate every aspect of my life was shattered when I hit my bottom in alcoholism. I quite literally could no longer manage my life. None of it. And I mean, I couldn't even get out of bed. Uh, all I had to do was walk downstairs to my job because I worked from home. This is way, way before COVID. I worked from home and I couldn't even walk downstairs. You know, I had to get a drink first. I couldn't manage anything on my own at that point. When I finally asked for help, it disturbed my, fabricated security and safety that I convinced myself that I had. It I asked for help. It was like ripping my mask off and leaving me completely vulnerable and exposed. I used to drown myself in alcohol so that I couldn't see where I was failing. And I I confused the concept, the idea that joy is, yeah, I thought joy was the destination. But actually, joy can be what the path is paved with. And this is what I struggled with when I first entered short term disability 4 months ago. I think we're getting to be 5 months. Wow. Or going into the fifth month. Um, I was looking at recovery. I was looking at this phase that I'm in, or this new identity that I had to build. I kept saying in my earlier podcast, there's something on the other side of this. That's what I kept saying. Something is on the other side of this. And it took me some time to realize that the something was already here. the something, I was in it already. Um, the short term comforts, both in when I was drinking and the beginning of my stroke recovery, I think were a way of protecting myself from the fear of long term failure. I just kept trying to prove myself now, in case my long term plans fail, in case I can't do it. So, over time, humility has become a tool for me for growth. It allows me to step out of life's boxing ring and put down my gloves and embrace life on life's terms. And that's something that I've learned in sobriety. Humility is a necessity in rebuilding my life. Humility, when I think of humility, again, I think of being a part of the human race. I think of relationships. It's not a sign of defeat, it's a cornerstone of recovery. It gives me grace and a space where I can accept my vulnerabilities and not mask my fears with ego. Ego is something huge that we talk about in my sobriety program. And when I think of a mask, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of ego. So, character building. This isn't comfortable for me, but it has strengthened my commitment to my values. And this is where a lot of work comes in. Like, I feel like humility and character building go hand in hand. Um, the self reliance that I once was clinging to didn't allow me to grow in character, to self reflect and learn how to have better relationships, how to be a better daughter, and how to be a better sister, and a better friend, and a better mom, and a better girlfriend. And that self reliance was transformed, is being transformed, because I don't know if I'm ever going to be done, into willingness to be open to help. And I found success in acknowledging that sometimes victory is not in the solitary triumphs, which is what I always thought. And I talked about some of that when I was talking about believing in other people. But victory is in the strength to seek support and guidance. So over time, humility has revealed itself as resilience, and it's rooted in my connections with other people. Embracing humility, you know, I'm not I'm not rolling over and saying, "Okay, the world is right and I'm wrong." That's what I was feeling when I would think of humility, is just like it seemed negative to me. Like, I know it's a positive trait, but it felt negative to practice it. And So to embrace humility, I'm not showing my weakness in a particular area. Instead, I'm gaining strength to rise up in recovery. So that's what I have today. So thank you so much for joining me on the Recovery Daily podcast. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, or visit my website at the Recovery Daily podcast. The best way you can help my recovery is to share, like, and follow so that my podcast can grow. I've been reaching people across the country, in Australia even, and in the UK. So keep sharing it with whoever you think may benefit from this, whether they're in recovery or not. I feel like there's a lot of important stuff that we're talking about just living, and we don't have a guide for living. So I'm making one. I'm making a guide for living, if for nobody else, for myself and for my kids. So if this topic resonated with you, please share it with a loved one or tell a friend about it. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow.